Okay, recording. She can't interrupt me. Now today, guys, we are covering the subject of the top 5 investment Porsches that you could look to buy and make money long term. Now, the Porsche community around here is very strong, and I'm lucky that there are some really knowledgeable people that I can bring in on this video that have in-depth understanding of all Porsches, but unfortunately they weren't available. So, the only one I could find was Dan's Timeless Classics.
Cheers, mate.
Dan, how you doing?
I thought I was the expert.
You are the expert, I'm only joking. So, we're going to go through your top 5 picks.
Yeah. So, investment cars, investment Porsches. What is the best Porsches to buy if you wanted to gain value on them over the next sort of decade? What, half decade, decade?
Yeah.
You could also gain value by leaving the heating off in the garage so it's so cold that you're nearly sticking to whatever you touch, John.
We're going there, are we?
Yeah.
We could also gain value by shooting the same video twice, because he hung the microphone off a bit of string there that was swinging like a mace over his jacket.
Well, they don't need to know that, John, because they can't see that.
I've told them now. Right.
God, even the side's cold, John. If you put your hands on it, my hands are going to stick to this.
Yes.
We should have warmed up the work surface.
That's our camera position.
We're in. We're rolling.
Yes. So let's get started. So we've got our 5 here, 5 good investments. Now in different categories: hypercar, 991, 992s, 997s, Caymans, and the category that I'll leave blank until we get to number 1 because it creates a crescendo.
Yeah.
But before we go into those, we're not going to really be talking about air-cooled ones as investments, are we?
No, I think we're sort of categorically saying that the air-cooled investment car market has probably left the station.
That train has left the station. That boat has sailed. That ship has sailed. That bubble has burst.
I mean,
that shuttle has launched.
That may seem unfair, and people are probably going to say that we're biased to water-cooled cars because we are.
But this is in terms of money, isn't it, really?
I think it's just as a general whole, most air-cooled cars have appreciated so much over the last 20 years that they've not got that mega appreciation in them to go again. Don't get me wrong, you buy the nice, they're still going to go up.
964s and stuff.
They're still good investments. They're just not the next investment.
Yes.
And we're talking about the next future investments.
Yeah, and we've also not covered the kind of, they're called the transaxle ones with the engine at the front?
Yeah, same again. I think the transaxles have already done quite well.
The 944s, 928s, 914s, all that sort of stuff.
There is some legs in them, but I don't think that anybody who's an investment buyer would necessarily be looking at them. I think generally people will be looking at 911s.
But within that category, there are some rare gems like Club Sports and stuff. So, but let's crack on anyway. So let's start with our first potential investment purchase in a
money
hypercar.
In the world. John didn't want a hypercar bracket on it. I thought, because not everybody is poor like me and John. There's some people watching now where the bank account is full up. But let's just say hypothetically, you won the lottery tomorrow. The Euro Millions, 112 million was it recently? So you've won 112 million quid. You love Porsches. You want to buy some just to put away, maybe use them. What would be the first car that pops into your mind that you could spend a lot of money buying, put it away, and it even double or triple again in value?
I think it would be this one, isn't it?
And for me, it's the Carrera GT. I think you was all thinking it, if you're honest with yourselves.
I just spelled Carrera. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or is it
It's like Carrera.
It's not double R and then single R. Carrera.
I haven't had a career
we'll
for
get torn
ages,
apart on that one,
and I'm dyslexic, so don't ask me.
Me too.
So money aside, if you had all the money in the world, it's a unique car. It's a mid-engined V10. It's the only V10 in the entire range, which is unusual.
Is that a Porsche engine, is it?
It's the Le Mans car. It's based on the Le Mans winning V10 car. It's called a Carrera as well, so it's got that 911 attachment.
Is that the 9? That's the 918, is it?
Yeah, well, it's the 918 family. I don't know if we call it a 918 because the 918 is the hypercar, the Spider, the hybrid, which of course is the modern equivalent of the Carrera GT, isn't
so that predates it?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the Carrera GT is the predecessor to that, but it's
successor, maybe. Dad.
Successor. Yeah, we read that. Yeah. But the Carrera GT is just insane. It's a manual, analog hypercar, because it is a hypercar of its era. It's V10.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, Paul Walker died in one. It was his favourite car. I think there's a lot of people, there's only like 1,100, I think, made worldwide.
Yeah, which is, and they're never going to get more. The numbers are going to drop as they get written off.
How many of them are in collections that you'll never ever see for sale ever? Yeah. How many of them have been written off? I mean, Matt Armstrong was only just bidding on a written off one the other day. That's going to take that out of the market for the investor. We've seen them on track. I've been to Spa and guys drifting them on track. There was one at Bicester Heritage driving in the snow the other day.
Yeah.
So
they get used.
They get used. And
how much do they cost?
So at the moment, a Carrera GT is about 1.2 to 1.5 million.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I would predict that in the next 10 years, that would double. You would double your investment.
Really?
Obviously, there's a lot of upkeep to go with it.
So you think they're going to be pushing 2 or 3 million?
I think there will be 2 to 3 million in the next decade.
That's a lot of appreciation.
Because if you go a decade ago, John, they were 500 to 600 grand.
Damn it, Jim, what if you're wrong?
So all the money in the world, you could get yourself a Carrera GT.
But that is a high risk, and that's obviously not for the layman's guy, that's for the guy with a bit of money kicking around.
But if you won the lottery, what's the risk? Who cares? And you get to drive it.
Exactly. That's pretty awesome. So next we're really moving into the 991, 992 category.
This isn't really our world, John, is it?
No.
This is modern car Porsche world. Now, as much as we like to look at them and all of that, I don't think I really want to own one. I don't really.
It's difficult though, Dan, isn't
it?
Yeah,
and it is difficult to find an investment modern
I don't think there's going to be an investment 992 at all. Not for like 40 or 50 years maybe. They might suddenly will know because they make so many of them.
The problem is they're all overpriced. They've put the prices up and up and up and up. Then there's been all this overs market nonsense where people have given 100 grand over list. So how are you going to get a return on that?
Yeah.
Like, and everyone's like, well, you could say the GT3 RS.
Yeah.
Because
that'd be the obvious
but
choice,
they're coming down massively already. That's a car that was 250,000 new. They were selling for 500 grand last year. They're now down to list already. The only thing that's going to make really that an investment
What's list?
car,
$250,000?
roughly.
It's cheap, isn't it? Really?
It is for what you're getting when you think it can go and on track and go and outperform anything else. Yeah. But if you think about it, the only thing that really is in its advantage is when they stop making it, is the amount they're getting written off.
Yeah,
they are.
How many have they made in the UK? Are we talking 500?
I don't think you can find the numbers. I've seen it. Well, you go to any Porsche meet now, and there can be 4 of them at the same meet.
Yeah.
I don't think they're rare. They were rare last year, but I don't think they're rare.
It's almost
now.
like it was so exclusive. You couldn't get one easily. That if you got one, you felt like you were doing really well. But I think perhaps like Dan's suggesting, this is all Dan's theory, not mine. So direct all the hate towards him. Maybe there's more of them kicking around than we're led to believe.
I kind of think they've built a lot of them and that they'll feed them through.
So really the 992 is perhaps out of this discussion.
Well, if you was going to get a 992, if you was thinking about, listen, you love the 992, you've got to have a 992, come on Danny, give me an investment 992, go basic, manual, low spec.
Carrera, non-S.
Carrera.
Manual
stock car, because they don't exist. No one's bought one. Everybody that walked in the showroom to buy one was talked up to a GT product.
With Porsche have really cashed in on that.
Yeah.
Everyone wanting that top thing in there. They don't just want the base model. The base model sucks to the point where the base model is actually the one to get.
Yeah, because it could be a rare thing.
I love
that. And people could then, in the future, go, oh, I'm bored of all this nonsense turbo and GT stuff. I just want a normal 911. We're in this era
where all the cars are too quick. Any car that's doing 3 to 4 seconds, 0 to 60, you do that on the road and it's crazy, and you know, so yeah,
it's too much for the average person.
But let's try and identify them. So we're going to zoom into the 991 territory, which was the previous model.
Yeah, see, the 991 is the beginning of that modern, but it's still got the old water-cooled 997, 996 transformation, hasn't it? It's non-turbo, especially that's a key thing here. They're turboed and non-turboed. So around 2015, Porsche dropped the big engines. So the 3.8s were dropped. They kept the big engines, the big flat, naturally aspirated flat six, which is what it's been forever now. They took that away.
Those ones that blow up.
Yeah, they took that away and came into this modern 3-litre twin turbo thing, which is easily mappable and it's faster and it's this and it's that.
All torque, no rev.
Yeah, so I think that big nearly said V8, that big flat six 3.8 in the early 991s might become a rare car. Now, it's likely to become a problem engine with bore score, probably, hopefully not, but history tells
there'd be something
wrong with it.
What do we think then, Dan? What do we think?
You know, these early cars, the early 991, big engine car, bit specky though on this, not basic. Again, maybe a stripper, but like the GTS, you know, known as the real driver's car. Could that be the Carrera?
Could that be many of those?
Could that be the C4S of the future?
So we're trying to avoid the GT models because it's always the obvious choice. Yeah. So you've got the GT3 RS, you know, the Gen 1.
Rear-wheel drive is important. You can get rear-wheel and four-wheel on some of those cars.
I think a GT3 RS, though, will always be in the discussion with the 991.
Yes. Yeah.
But some of the purists might want the manual option, which would lead you back to the GT3, a manual GT3. Are they rare enough?
Well, manual 991 GT3 is PDK only until the Gen 2.
So the Gen 2 4-litre GT3 is manual as well,
yes.
Because you'd want that.
Yes, that's what Sing's got. 911 Sing's GT3 is a .2 manual.
Yes.
Everybody that gets...
Sure. So the 3.8 was only PDK, was it?
The early GT3s were all PDK, and that's the engines that are failing. Yeah, so that's the ones that are really shocking, that have gone bang. So good investment. Probably that's never going to be the one that everyone says is a good investment.
So it could be a Gen 2 GT3 manual.
Like Sing's car, that could be the one.
Either RS
or non-RS.
.1 or .2.
But again, manual is going to be rare because
you can't get a manual RS.
I don't know if you can get a manual RS. You can get a manual GT3 because, like I say, 911 Sing's got one.
But you can't get a manual
Maybe
RS.
Not. I don't know. Maybe they'll know that. But basically,
so this is why drafting in an expert.
Basically,
there's so many variations.
In that modern car world, I think if it's rear-wheel drive and manual and unique in some way, like lower the numbers down. Look online. Everybody's buying PDKs.
What
everybody's
about the
buying four-wheel drive.
Carrera T?
Yeah, the Carrera T is a unique car, isn't it? Because that's lighter, rear-wheel drive, manual, and back to basics.
The GT3 Touring, I think, long-term. The 991 GT3 Touring manual would be something that would be highly collectible.
So you can see where we're going here. Those models that we're talking about are to try and take modern cars back to the old-fashioned ways. Yeah. So those cars are going to always be sought after, and they could be good investment cars, I think.
What else do you think, though, guys? Put in the comments if you think there's anything we've missed there.
And can a GT3, Gen 2 GT3 like Chaz's be manual?
RS,
not just
GT3 RS. PDK,
manual.
I'm pretty sure it's PDK only.
The problem is PDK is faster, so that's why most people would buy PDK.
Yeah. So now let's move on to our third choice, which is the 997.
We're going older in cars, because obviously the prices have come down further.
Yes.
So then there's more investment potential now.
So these are both 911s as well, Carreras.
So both in the 911 world. So the 997 911 has broke 20 years old. We are now 2025. The car came out on about 05. I have seen a 54 plate, but a 54 plate can be 04. And I think those launch cars were around 04. Because you think Gen 2 996, you generally 04's the latest. All the 05s.
I think there's an 04 997 again, but
yeah, I think there is an 04. I think
so
I've seen
your
an
Gen
04.
1 997s you can now
Yeah.
pick up for like 25 grand.
And they're
up
20
to,
years old, which
up to
is
35, 40.
a modern classic.
Yeah.
It is officially a modern classic car now.
But what do we think within the 997 is going to be the future classics? We talked about this before, haven't we? You've got the 997 GTSs, which are quite rare, quite desirable.
And of course the GT3, of course. And,
Yeah.
But I would say if you were going to buy one as an investment car, you go RS, GT3 RS.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are quite low on those compared to these modern ones.
Gen 1 GT3, what, 60 to 80 grand?
Yeah, 70 to 80 grand. I don't know if there's anything quite 60s
And the
yet.
Dot 2, is the Dot 2 the 3.8 and the Dot 1 the 3.6?
There is a 4 litre one, which is monster money.
That must be the
That's that unique race spec engine one, which is the 4 litre GT, which I think is a Dot 2. It's a 4 litre 997 manual GT3 RS. And it's
That's a
like
4 litre,
half
is
a
it?
million quid already now.
Is it?
Yeah, that would be a good investment car. Although again,
But hold on.
you wouldn't have wanted to buy that last year as an
I thought
investment.
these Dot 1s were about 70 to 80 grand, and then what the Dot 2s with the 3.8s, I thought they were like what, 80
100.
grand plus or something.
Yeah, a bit more than that, I think, getting
And
towards
that's-
100.
So that's the GT3, and then the GT3 RSs are about
They're-
125 to 150 grand.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd go for that, the RS. Although it's a more track-inspired car, we're talking about investment potential.
More
here.
limited numbers.
Yeah, more limited numbers. You've got some really unique individual colours like that burnt orangey metallic like you've seen. Imagine something like that and wrapping that up and putting that away for 20, 30 years. The ones that are out there are being tracked and they're probably likely to get smashed up. So something like that with low mileage in really good condition, you could see doing really well. Our friend Martin actually inquired into buying one, which I think at the time was about 125k.
Something like that.
Now that was last year. That'd be the same price this year, even in a bad market. It'd still be that same money.
Yeah.
Whereas other cars have dropped off more over this winter. That hasn't. I think if you come out the other side of this winter, 140 grand. You're
Possibly,
already gaining.
But long
value.
term, that's got to be a good investment.
It's got to be
with
a
all
quarter
of
of a
these,
million car, hasn't it? Next decade.
with all of these GT products, the one thing you've got to make sure is they're not track abused. You know, they'll all have seen the circuit perhaps. You're not going to get that one that's been bought and then covered in bubble wrap and like put on, you know, tyres deflated and put on
Only
axle
the Arabs
stands.
are buying them ones. They're all in office blocks.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. They're going to have been around a circuit once every couple of years, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But you don't want the ones that are tracked 15 times a year for the last 5 years because they'll be absolutely
You don't want
spanned.
those. You don't want, like, if someone like me and you owned a car like that and we had a lot of money, we'd just be tracking it all the time because it'd just be so much fun.
You speak for yourself, then.
So you'd want, you don't want Chaz's car, do you? Because he's on his third
It's 'cause
engine.
he's blown
It's like
engine,
Trigger's
isn't
broom. He's on his third engine, 17 new heads, 18 new handles, and he's already booked. He ain't even got the car back with the new engine, and he's booked 5-6 track days this year already.
Sounds like me. Yeah, you also want original paint with some of these ones because if it's been repainted, sometimes they can be.
Hiding things,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's
Yeah,
after
track damage.
5 years of tracking it, it's peppered. They get it repainted and it looks mint. So
it's not.
Yeah, so there's our pick in the 997.
I think in that sort of world, I think as far as the basic 997 goes, so let's look at the other end of the scale. Rear wheel drive, manual, unique colours. This is a world of
Aeros.
monochrome. Aeros, yeah. This is a world of monochrome. You took 996, 997, silver, black, grey, silver, black, grey, blue, at
Red.
best that dark blue. Yeah, a Carrera 2S manual in, I don't know, a PTS white or a vibrant red metallic or something like that with an unusual interior and extended leather.
Fully bore scored engine.
Yeah, fully rebuilt engine. Something like that that you can't just find another. I mean, there's a really unique one that goes to the Fair Mile. It's Arena Red, which is the metallic red, but it's got red interior. So oxblood interior on a red car. Now, I can't remember if it is, but let's just assume it's manual rear-wheel drive. Yeah. That's a great investment car.
So colour choices, exterior and interior, critical as well. So a base Carrera 997 in 20 years' time, so let's say 2045. If it's got unusual colours, it will be desirable, especially if it's really rare.
Because the majority of them will be boring,
black and
monochrome.
Silver. Okay, let's move up to this Cayman category.
So we put number 2, Cayman as the second. Now let's put Cayman / Boxster, because let's talk about the 987. We've done the 997, so the 987.
So 987 Cayman or Boxsters.
It's now the same age, so we're talking 20 years old.
Yes,
we're talking a future classic car. The Boxsters are for nothing at the moment. Absolutely for nothing. They are so cheap. 987 Boxsters.
Less than 10 grand.
Yeah, there's so many colour choices. Less than 5 grand. Now.
Really?
Honestly, they are out there for £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 for a 987 Boxster. You can have silvers, black, slate grey. You can have blues,
any
yellows.
colour you like, as long as it's black.
Yeah, I mean, even yellow ones are not that, like Nick's one, they're out there. Red ones, there's so many colour choices. If you're happy to take over 100,000 miles, under 5 grand, under 5 grand. It's really crazy. And it's winter, so it's a great time to buy. But are they investment cars? No.
No, you need something
rare. There's
rare.
too many of them.
So
now,
let's go into our first one in this category.
So let's put up what we think is the investment car in that category. John's going with Cayman R. Now,
that's the equivalent of the GT product before the GT product existed with the Cayman, isn't it?
I agree, yeah. That's 3.4, slightly lighter, really sort of track-focused, racy car. No big body kits or wings.
No.
Relatively low numbers, not as rare as my choice in this, but still.
Green was the flagship colour on it, wasn't it?
White, green.
But green was the unique colour.
That's the unique colour, but that's the most common one. The white one's rarer, I think. Don't hold me to that.
Was it white or green then?
There was a couple of greens. I think there might be 3 colours. I got a feeling there might be a red or something.
Red would be quite
There's a couple of colours. But yeah, it's
how much to get into one of these, Dan?
30s. They're into the early 30s now.
35?
Definitely 35 is going to get you one to 40. That's going to give you choices. Lots of choices. And again, coming back to the tracking ability, loads of them are on track. Loads of them. We see them all the time. They're really fast on track. They're really good. So a lot of people tracking the life out of them, destroying the paintwork, just generally going to break them. They're going to wear them out. So
if it's on original paint, and you know how to check if the car's on original paint at the front, and it's not chipped to hell, and like beaten up, and the front bumper's not all like mullered, then that's going to mean it hasn't seen the track life. So
if you can find a low mileage Minter under 40k and you squirreled that away, that's going to be a 60, 70 grand
those
car
rare seats in them as well. You can
get. There are some unique bits. I mean, again, it's about getting the right spec and ownership and history, and that's a given for any car, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So my competitive choice to that, which is even rarer, would be, and I'm waiting to drive one. Nick Jeffries is promising me a drive in his. Is the Spider, the 987 Spider.
That's the first Spiders we got in these.
So the Spider is a Boxster Roadster. So it's a Boxster. So it's in the world of the Cayman. It's the mid-engine chassis. It's a 3.4 like the Cayman R. But again, it's this track driver's car infused, analog, manual, feel it. Not much
sportier, isn't it? With the sort of like back of it.
Like that swallowtail.
It's not a classic convertible. You have to put the...
No, the roofs are a bit difficult to get on and off. So it is an off thing. It's the sort of summer thing. So they're quite low mileage. I looked on Auto Trader the other day. There's only 4 for sale. They're all white. So don't get,
they're
maybe
all white?
You're all white, yeah. Maybe find a coloured one.
How much?
I don't know how many colours there are. 40 to 50k there was some, but generally they were later 40s. They are more money than a Cayman R, but I kind of think if you're going to go 35 to 40, go up to 50 and get one of them, because I think over the two in the next decade, that'll appreciate more.
When you're buying as an investment, it's always good to get the best price you can get, but you don't want to buy a dodgy example
not the
unless
worst car.
you're into restoring cars, because the cost to restore the cars kills your
outweighs
profit.
the value and whatever profit you could have made.
So always good examples. So I think we've got two really solid ones in the Cayman.
Yeah, I think so. I think that covers both Cayman and Boxster and that platform as a whole, definitely.
Yeah, and that's going to be in the price range that lots of collectors are going to be looking at, because it's quite good. They're also getting to the age where they're going to be exporting them, which is something that I wanted to get in there, because that's a very important point.
Well, yeah, they're not there yet. They're 20 years old, John. But in the next 5 years, these cars will both be eligible for exports. And once these cars are eligible for exports, there's a lot of countries in the world that drive on our side of the road, such as Japan, Australia, a lot of like out that sort of way, the eastern side of the world, not the western side. And they never got them. A lot of these, they did like, did you know 996 GT3 wasn't available in America?
No.
So, you know, there's cars like that they didn't get. So now they're coming of age. They want them. They're going to bring them over. The Dot 2 was, but not the Dot 1.
Yeah, they don't they won't want right hookers, and we don't want left hookers.
But we're talking about Australia.
But the Australians
will
are on our side of the road, are they?
Yes, and they will
clever
buy
people.
them. Yeah.
On the correct side of the road.
Yeah, on the correct side of the road.
Right.
Which conveniently brings us to our number one.
Yes.
Because no one can guess what it is. The number one investment Porsche, we believe, and we're saying this for two reasons. Number one, we're both 996 fans. Obviously, it's the 996. And secondly, they're the cheapest. So they've got the most potential growth to
cheapest
come.
other than the Boxsters, really.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Boxsters are the cheapest, but...
Cheapest 911.
Cheapest 911, yeah. So the cheapest 911 is a 996. So they're very affordable. Now, they made a bundle of these cars. I mean, in their over their whole span, like 100,000 units or something stupid.
That's how you spell it. I spelled it wrong down there. That's the correct spelling.
But there's a couple of things. So they've been available for export for a couple of years now. We are now into the point where they're all available for export, because the oldest ones, no, not quite. The oldest, Gen 2, is now available for export as well.
Yeah, within 6 months they'll all be available.
So within the next 6 months, they're all coming. And then as you'll find over the next 3-4 years... Over the next 3-4 years, the later ones will come available. The old Carrera 4S, C4S, the GT3.2s, they're all going to be available for export as well.
So let's just, while the iron's hot, let's just talk about the models that we think are really desirable. Let's just start with the really base Carrera 996s that are early Gen 1, 3.4 engine, manual, LSD, cable throttle,
non-sunroof, absolute stripper, catalogue car.
Sunroof.
Literally,
it'll be knackered.
If you look at the early catalogues and the brochures, the car on the cover, and I think it's the flagship car. This is the one. Arctic silver, twists, non-sunroof, no audio pack, no sports seats, no CD changer, no rear wiper. Ambers. Just the stripper, 1997.
But an aero kit on it as well is very desirable.
Yeah, if you got an aero kit on it as well, it'd be a bonus. If you get something like that car, it's the lightest it can be to the catalogue weight, which is 1370, 1360, depending where you read it. You'd have a car that's very close. You'll never get catalogue weight, by the way, but you'll be very close to that. So it'll be sub 1400 kilo, manual, analog as hell, because these cars don't have PSM. Their traction control.
Some of them don't even have traction control.
They don't even have that. They only have the traction control if they have the diff.
Yeah.
Because it comes as a part of the package. But the traction control is non-interfering.
You might be able to get these for 10 grand.
No, not
yeah, without the aero
high
kit.
Mileage.
Without the aero kit, you can get these for 10 grand.
Only if a fool is selling it. If you've got a really early, mostly the 10 grand ones are broken.
Yeah.
Or they're convertibles, or they're Tiptronics.
But you can go and buy a blown up one.
Yeah.
Like for 5 grand that's spun a bearing.
And then fix it and have a rebuilt engine.
Yeah.
We know of that exact car. which has been recently done 188,000 miles of that exact car that had finally gone boom. If you chucked another engine in that, which the guy can't do because it outweighs the cost of its value. We estimated that at 12 grand with another engine in it. This is the whole reason why they're going to disappear. Yeah. Because he has a car that has a blown engine. It's done 188,000. This is Steve at SWR Racing. And he's at that point where he's like, damn, what do I do? Do I put another engine in it, which is worth 6 grand? Add that to the value of what he paid for that car. Put the two together, plus his labour. Plus you might as well do a new clutch and a few new bits up and over pipe when in Rome.
But he's never economical.
But he's not going to make any money, is he? He's going to be at a loss.
These 996s are so cheap now. If one's blown up,
it's a breaker.
You buy one, and you could the breaker value of them's at like 10, 15 grand easily.
The parts demand at the moment is fantastic. You know, so if you are a 996 breaker, I mean, I've broken a few. Steve's breaking loads. He walked us around his yards.
Get a broken one with an aero kit. The aero kit's worth like 4 or 5 grand.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and you can pay like 5 grand for them if you're lucky.
But as an investor, because that's what we're talking about here, this is good news because the numbers that were massive are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
The numbers on the road are dropping like flies with that 996 because of the engines. They're at that age. Yeah. If they're north of 100,000 miles, your engine is not on borrowed time if it's been well maintained, but it's likely that somewhere between 100,000 and 160,000, your engine's going to need to be dropped out and broken down and rebuilt or something.
And then that outweighs the cost of the car unless you do it yourself or you know your mate or whatever.
Yes.
And the thing is with that is that your car is categorically in a break-in market. Now, it's another thing we haven't thought about is insurance point of view. If you've got a 996, 997 sort of car and you catch the front corner on the wall pulling out of your driveway, your car's likely to get written off.
Well, steady on.
No, they do, because they'll just quote a new bumper, a new wing, a new headlight, and a new wheel, because you've scratched the wheel. It's like Porsche prices, 8 grand.
It can happen, yeah.
They look at your book value on the car at 12. They'll just write the car
They get
off.
written off easily.
Yeah.
They get written off any sort of panel damage underneath, you bend the front slightly, it'll get written off.
So straight away, that's another one out of that investment opportunity.
But let's just talk about some other ones in the 996 genre. You've got the Jahari. The
40th anniversary. That's got to be a winner, hasn't it? Because you've got a unique model car, and they are very unique.
They're nice looking now.
Yeah,
they
really
look a bit
nice looking.
A bit like a cross between a 4S and a normal slim body 996 with a 4S front grills, but in silver.
And GT silver, it's their own colour, it's not Arctic. So silver is the flagship colour of the 996. So again, if you can get any other colours.
Limited, how many, 500 of them are there?
I think they're quite low. No, I think it might be a little bit more than that.
And now these are, how much are these? They're like 30 grand plus, are they?
Down to about 30 grand now. Yeah, I have seen them around them early 30s.
So you get one of those.
40, you get you a nice one for 40.
And they're not going down in value, are they?
I can't imagine they're going to drop. I would imagine that they are the lowest they can possibly be right now. I could see that car doubling in the next decade.
996 Turbo could be a good shout.
Nah, I'm not feeling that.
No?
Too many of them made, too many out there. And I just don't think that.
But they have rock bottom price right now.
They are rock bottom.
Seen them like for 20 grand.
For some reason, the 996.
I think
turbo.
No, it's not the first turbo.
No, the turbo's been going for ages.
Yeah.
I think the turbo's a really good Grand Tourer, but because it's not known as the best driver's car, because it's not known as the best track car, because it's not known for the best of anything, even though it's a fantastic Tourer. I just don't think it's ever had the appeal like those
performance
early
of that car
turbos.
for its time.
It's way ahead of its time. It's a flipping rocket ship.
It is.
Maybe you could get a unique one like a Turbo S with some really unusual combo spec.
Oh, 4S is maybe.
The 4S is the 4S. Again, it was always this car. Let's talk about that. The 996 4S Gen 2. for years now, has always been put at the top of the pedestal of the one to buy. Because it was for me.
Behind the GT product, yeah.
Behind the GT product. It was always the one to buy. Everyone was telling you to buy it. Everyone was telling you it was the best investment car. Everyone was saying it's the one to have. It's the most unique. Now, that's all changed. Now everyone wants an early, standard, low-spec Carrera driver's car because it's the lightest and the weight thing's really coming into it.
Maybe,
and then the best-looking car.
Not everyone, though. Not everyone, Dan.
I'm saying the majority of people.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm saying, listen, you had one. I had one. We were all disappointed with them and we sold them.
No, I was. No, love mine.
As much as your Aero?
No, because because I can pull the Aero apart.
Yeah.
And I think I said this when I sold it. The 4S needs to be kept stock, I think. And with all that carbon fibre interior, that one I had was one that you don't want to play around with. You just devalue the hell out of it.
Yeah, I don't think you mess around with the 4Ss. I think if you put spoilers on them, it ruins that lovely rear end. That rear end's beautiful.
You don't want to touch it.
You don't want to mess with that.
Whereas my what's it called? My Aero Taco was already played around with, already ripped to bits. So I knew when I was going to get that, I'm going to rip it all out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the roof off. I'm going to do this.
I think
I like the idea of just being able to rip your car apart.
I think what you got to think about the fundamental basis of a 911, right? Drivability. And drivability is going to be rear-wheel drive. It's going to be Carrera.
Well, personal preference.
Yeah, they are preference. I'm saying as a majority. You're thinking of. You've got to think as an investor. Your wider market.
Because it's quite funny because the rear-wheel drive can at high speeds when it goes, it can be scary. And the 4S saves you in that sense. So it is personal preference.
In the wet, the four-wheel drive system is fantastic.
Got to talk about the GT3 996 product, the Gen 1 and Gen 2s, both very desirable. Both around 80 to 100 grand or whatever.
Way undervalued at the moment.
Metzger engines.
Metzger engines. The world loves those cars. This is where the Aero wins. And people think the Aero is a copy of the GT3. And it's a bit of a joke, really, because the GT3 is a copy of the Aero. The Aero kit, and not everyone knows this, the Aero kit was out before the GT3 was out. You could walk into a Porsche showroom and order, I want a Carrera, Mr. Salesman, I want the sports package, I want LSD, and I want XAA, which is an Aero package, which was the front spoiler,
don't ask for LSD,
the rear spoiler, the side skirts, and you could order the spats as well. Yeah. So you could buy an Aero kit in 1998. I think the spats are a collectible item.
Look at the spats.
Because again, they're rare.
You don't see, they ditched the spats after the 996.
Well,
there's no spats.
I do understand why. They were a bit Marmite of whether you love them or hate them. I still think they
grow on you, mate. Literally.
They do grow on you.
I've got a pair growing on my side.
I think they're very colour rated. Like I love them on the red car, on your car, mega, and I liked them on Joe's blue car, but I don't like them so much on silver cars.
Maybe. I don't
know, and black they get lost.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You don't really see them on a black car.
Yeah.
So I think their colour.
They work on the red.
They do work and yellow. They look so good on yellow as well. So I think they're very colour biased, but they were £900 over the £5,000 Porsche was already charging you. And I think you've got to put yourself in the showroom in 1998. You're giving 70 grand for this car, right? You've given £5,000 for a body kit, and then they're telling you they want nearly another grand for 2 extra bits on the rear bumper.
One thing hasn't changed.
And you're going to be
like,
no, mate.
Over the last 40 years with Porsche, you're still getting done, aren't you?
I'm giving you £5,000 for a front bumper, a rear thing.
But at that stage, you just want it so much because you're paying 70 grand. You're like, how much are those flip-flops? Another 900 quid. Oh yeah, I'll take the money.
But people didn't. And then, of course, 1999, they launched the GT3. That didn't come with them extra, but you could get them on that.
Could you spec them, could you?
Yeah, you could spec a GT3 with flip-flops. Another grand. But they're like, hang on a minute.
You've got your flip-flops and your spats mixed up.
This is a GT3. This is a homage to the race car, and it doesn't come with them. The race cars didn't have them.
Extra weight.
It's extra weight. I'm not giving you £1,000 to put more weight on the back. You can keep them. So they became rare for those reasons. No one wanted to pay the money.
Well, you could just go to Benidorm and stick super glue some flip-flops on the side.
You're taking the mick out of them. They're on your car.
But really, that base Carrera is a good investment.
And like he says,
but it's a long-term. It's a long-term thing. They will go up. If you can find a nice example of an early Gen 1 I just think they're so cheap. That's why.
I mean, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have 2 97 cars, which is very rare. 97 cars are the rarest, and both my cars are 97. But look, I've already taken one of them out of the investment market because I've turned it into a track car.
Destroyed it.
I've cut it up. I've took the roof off of it and destroyed it, as John says. I'm planning to destroy it at some point.
It's like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
It's more machine.
It's going to end up like 4 litre. It's not an investment car. No. It can't be taken back to that world. No. So it's gone. That's another 97 that's gone from the world. Now, my other car, CGA, is an aero-kitted gem. It is the 97 car. It's not non-sunroof, unfortunately.
That for sale soon, Dan, won't it?
Yes, quite possibly. Unfortunately, I think my extension's going to force the hand. But if I had the money to keep that car, that's a car I would mothball. And I've said this to you before. I don't want to let that car go because where am I going to find another 97 aero, cable throttle, LSD, amber indicator? It ticks all the boxes.
You won't be able to get a Gen 1. You struggle with a 97, but you'd be able to get an
and that's what I'm saying, because I think it's the perfect investment car, and it's the car that I would mothball and put away.
And it's worth saying this guy's highly biased. When it comes to aero kits, he's like heavily invested.
So should you be. We are the Pinkies Taco crew. We are.
I am heavy.
Boys.
I got them less as an investment, but more that you could get a car that you're not going to be afraid to pull apart. Any of this stuff, you're not really going to want to touch it, are you? I'm not going to want to. I'm going to cut the roof off my one and put a carbon fibre roof on it, hopefully.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to be pulling bits off it. I'm going to be wrapping it into tyre walls and it's going. I might even blow the engine up again this year.
But this is good for the investors because with more of us doing this to these cars, the more of us doing these to these cars, the less of them there are out there that are unmolested.
And everyone's doing the same thing.
Not carbon roof, not modified, not taken around Goodwood every 5 minutes, and not on its 17th engine.
And the 996s may be the next target for Singer as what to buy up. So
I think
and if they do Singer versions and they start buying all the broken stock up to get the shells and the bits, then that's going to add to it as well. So
I think that's a really good thing. You've got to look at that world of this. What do they call it? Resto mod.
Yeah.
If you look at the big players, you've got Singer, Gunther Works. Who's the other guy? Tahil Racing, Tahil.
Oh yeah.
So you've got all these guys. They're making these $1 million plus cars, which as soon as you take delivery are worth $2 million anyway. So their order list is the next 10 years long. They can't get enough 993, 9630. 964 chassis. There's just not enough for all of them to do this. So in a minute, I predict by the next decade, 100%.
You can always go and buy those cars, can't you?
Yeah, but then they've got to start buying mint ones and pulling them apart. Which, listen, the money is in it
if you're
for
rich,
them.
you're going to bare shells.
Yeah, but what happens then? The market on them will go up. So they will get to a point. Or the people won't sell them. They won't sell them. Yeah, that's the thing. They'll just hold on to them. If you've got all the money in the world, you don't have to let it go. These guys are business people. They're not going to pay 500 grand for something to pull apart, which they're remanufacturing 96% of anyway. When they can give 10 grand for something.
But we're getting diverted here, Dan.
No, but we're not, because you're talking about investment cars, and I think these guys are going to play a serious part in the future.
Well, yeah, it's all
raising the investment potential of the first water-cooled 911. Which, let's be honest, this car is the fundamental basis of everything on there.
I've heard this speech.
It is though, isn't it? Come on. You know, Porsche made sports cars.
Hold on, don't.
They were struggling.
Can you pass me that knife there? Hold on.
Audi get involved. They get Volkswagen Audi involved. VW Audi come along. They tell them, stop, that makes it water cooled. Let's do all these independent suspension arms. And everything afterwards is based off that car. So that is the saviour of the brand. The 996, the 986 Boxster. Don't forget that as well.
Okay, this little stage hook comes on and hooks him and pulls him off that way.
It's true though.
Right,
it's true.
I'm just going to switch that switch out of transmit mode on the back of his head.
Shall I talk about 986?
No, we've got to wind this up now. We're over 40 minutes.
Are we?
Yeah,
No,
we
we're not.
must be. We must be. But no, seriously, Dan, that's brilliant. And I appreciate your insights and all of that. And that's a good list.
If you disagree with me, say in the comments.
There's going to be so many other things we've missed, or things
definitely.
that you might disagree on these and think, you've missed this one, you missed that one. These are the ones we could come up with. So put in the comments what you think.
Yeah, what do you think's going to be the best car? Am I right about the 996 or am I chatting shit?
Well, you might be.
Is that car going to not be the next big investment potential?
The thing is that you could say, though, is against the 996, you could go and buy one 15 grand or whatever. You might have to spend 10 grand, 15 grand to get
20?
it. So it's a 30 grand car.
Yeah, it's not such a good investment.
It might take 10 years to get that back. So it's not like any of this is going to suddenly make you rich, but it's a sort of sliding scale over time, as like Dan's saying. And that is a good shout.
Yeah,
I love a silver-based 996 non-aero. I've got a bit of a thing for those.
Let's do this, John. Right, you just won the Euro Millions, right? So you can afford now to buy a barn somewhere, fill it up with cars.
Hire a hitman to get rid of him.
Pick 5 cars that you're going to put in that barn.
5 cars.
You probably won't drive them. You might do.
My E36.
Yeah. So this one or another one?
No, this one.
This one, right? So this is an investment car. E36. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a Ferrari.
Flip me. There ain't any Porsches.
Well, I'd have my Aero, even though it's
So you wouldn't put yours. So you've got to do these as investment cars. You're not going to drive.
Well, I might have that Zanzibar GT3 that what's his name's got in our group.
Justin. Yeah, good investment.
I might have that. I'll go and nick it off him.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got a GT3, you've got an E36 BMW, you've got a
Ferrari 348.
A non-turbo one.
Yeah. And there's got to be some other BMWs. E34 M5.
He's not a Porsche guy at all, is he?
Not really.
So the first one I would buy would be the Carrera GT, because that's going to give me the best return financially. Because although it might not be the percentage of this.
Yeah, but you might as well say like the most valuable car on the face of the planet, because you could sell it and buy that whole lot.
I just said that you're not going to drive it. This is just going to be more for investment. I'd buy 2 of those.
That's cheap.
I'd invest 3.
I want my choice back. I'm going to get rid of all. I've got an E36 in there, and you're hitting me with this stuff that's worth 2 million.
I'm going to do 3 million quid on those. I'm going to drive the crap out of one so it goes down in value, while the other one's sitting there going up in value. So my investment over time stays the same.
Right, and on that note, we're going to have to end this. Dan, thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you very much.
And don't forget, you can follow Dan on Dan's Timeless Classics on YouTube.
Or Dan's Timeless Classics 2 on Instagram after they threw me off.
Yeah, and if you are an Aero, a 996 Aero, come and join us on Pinky's Tacos Instagram as well.
Which is Instagram, yeah. Pinky's Tacos, the Aero Club 996. Punch any of that in the search engines and you'll find the Aero Club.
Brilliant, thank you, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Adios.